Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our Future 101. We have Amanda here with me to join the discussion. And so we've talked about censorship before. We've mentioned it in a lot of our podcasts that many people are being censored over their opinions, although we do have the freedom of speech in this country still. But people are censored on social media. They're censored on YouTube. You're not allowed to speak about certain topics like vaccines or anything, related to COVID, really. You're allowed to speak on a lot of the issues there, but there are some polarizing topics that you're not allowed to mention. And what's your first thought on that?
Well, technically, you are allowed to speak about them, but when you do, you're flagged, or your account is taken down, or you're not allowed to use or make a post for like 24 hours, or, they are kind of threatening you, like, hey, if you talk about this again, we're going to take your account away. So, they're really shutting down they're shutting down the possibility of having open discussions about important topics that there's a lot of things going on in the world, a lot of things that can be very controversial, that people are very divided on. But having two sides to a story is not a bad thing. You need to have those debates and those discussions, and you need to hear both sides of the story.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just hear one side only. We won't reach any sort of solution, or we won't fix any problems by just trying one thing or hearing one side of the story. You have to be open to hearing both, and that's what these social media platforms are not allowing for, is those open discussions. And if those discussions are had, they're being shut down, they're being flagged, and they're putting little notification things at the bottom of your post saying, don't listen to this, go to our website and visit this website for more information on this topic.
But even if you mention the word either COVID or vaccines,
Mm-hmm.
which we just did, so our video might be flagged as well.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily going to be censored, but it will be flagged, and you're gonna get one of those
Mm-hmm.
like COVID-19 guides from Canada.ca, visit the Government of Canada website to find out more information on vaccines and stuff. There
are other websites that you can go to find out about vaccines. It doesn't have to be the government website.
Yeah, but they're just so into controlling the information that flows around that. Mm-hmm. And now it just goes into this notion of like, well, you're not a scientist, therefore you have no authority to speak about anything related to that.
Well, we were being shadow banned for a while. I don't even know if we still are. Our Instagram accounts. So first, our Instagram accounts a long time ago, like when we first started, they got shut down for a while. And then we had to start up again and start a new account. But now, recently, we've been getting shadow banned. Some of our followers are reaching out to us and saying that, people that don't follow us can't see our posts, or our stories are not coming up on their feed, things like that. So even if we're not directly being taken down, we are being hidden from mm-hmm. people, or blocked from other people seeing what we are posting and what we're talking about. And it's subtle, so we don't even know what's happening. Yeah. Other people have told us that, hey, by the way, I can't see your posts, or my friend is trying to search your account and it's not coming up. So.
Yeah, and it's like, the question is, why are they so heavy on the censorship on social media and the online platforms to censor things like vaccinations and to censor things like information about, other polarizing topics? And from my own perspective, I think it's because they're insecure.
Well, yeah, they don't want there to be the possibility that something that we say is actually true and people start believing it. And that because then they'll stop believing what they're saying or
Yeah.
what whether it's the government or the companies that are running these social media platforms. If we're saying something to counter their narrative, they're scared that people might actually believe it.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing about competition, right? Like, if you allow competition to happen, you actually have to be better than your competition in order to win.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are going to crush the competition with, laws, rules, etc., and to make rules only for you, just like the government and the media is doing, is that they are censoring people that they don't agree with because they want their own narrative to continue. But it's like, if you're so right about your narrative, you wouldn't have to censor anybody because we would just look like fools.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they're so insecure that of being, of people actually discovering that what they're talking about is wrong, or maybe believing that it is wrong and promoting other ideas, that they have to censor people. They have to censor people like Joe Rogan and Dr. Malone and Dr. Peter McCullough. But it's just frustrating because people don't see that. They just follow it and they just agree with it.
People think that there should be more censorship than there is.
Yeah.
I believe there's a bill that's trying to be passed or that has been passed in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not too sure what it's called.
Yeah,
but people actually think that that's a good thing. Like, we need more censorship.
Bill C-36 is the one that's I'm not sure if it, well, the name of it is C-36, but it's the anti-hate bill. But it's like, basically you still have freedom of speech when you just speak, in person to somebody else. You're allowed to say whatever the fuck you want, but you can't say this stuff online because it's going to influence a lot of people's opinions. And it's like, why are you so afraid of, people's opinions if your opinions are so correct and if your ideas are right, then you shouldn't be afraid. You shouldn't be insecure about your ideas and having to censor others if you're going to win the competition. It's the same as, like you're going on a swim competition and everybody had the same training. Nobody's doping. Everybody's, been through the same stuff. And it's like, you're competing against people who are not at any disadvantage, but they're putting people of different opinions at a disadvantage by censoring them. So we cannot talk about vaccines. We cannot talk about these topics because they are afraid that they're going to lose the competition against us who are talking about these things. And by they, I mean, government, institutions that are enforcing this, big pharma. They're afraid of people finding out the truth or people finding out maybe some other things about it, right? They just want to tell you what they want to promote.
Well, another form of kind of a form of censorship, not really on social media or on the internet, but speaking of big pharma, wasn't there something where they wanted to hide the ingredients? Was it the ingredients? They wanted to hide something to do with the vaccines, all the information on the vaccines for like 70 years.
Oh, yeah. It was, yeah. I'm not sure about the details, but it was like they had some sort of hearing in the States.
Yeah, but that's what they wanted to do.
With Pfizer, I believe. And
their
idea was like,
I'm not exactly sure.
It was to release the data. About their studies on the vaccines.
So again, these big institutions, they want to hide what the truth actually is. And that's one way that they wanted to do that. Just like another way they want to do it is by censoring us online.
I mean, it's like, if you're so confident about your data and you're so confident about your product and it's so safe and effective, it's just, it's so good. Then why are you afraid to show it to me? Wouldn't you want to show it off?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want to be like, hey, look, this data is amazing. I think you should consider taking it. Mm-hmm. But no, like, it's like, sorry, I have no data. I have nothing to present to you.
But it's safe and effective.
But just trust my word. Yeah, it's
trust
like,
us.
fuck
Yeah.
no, you fucked up way too many times in the past, and I don't trust you, right? And that's how people were years ago. They wouldn't trust companies that made billions of dollars every year from drugs because these drugs get taken off the market all the time. And it's like now they come out with this one, and I'm supposed to trust them? How?
Yeah.
Like trust is built over a long time. You cannot, especially something that you put into your body and you cannot reverse. So yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous that they're able to do this, and it's absolutely ridiculous that the social media platforms are actually allowed to censor these things because it's like to me it's unjust.
If you are not going on the internet and intentionally trying to harm other people, you shouldn't be censored,
Yeah,
unless you are like actually going out and using the internet for, you know, to hurt others, to actually say
yeah.
things that, um, like to actually be hateful. But just expressing your opinion is not hateful. That's the thing. It's like, how are we spreading hate? We're not spreading hate at all. Us sitting here and talking, we're not spreading hate. If anything, it's the opposite. But it would be seen as spreading hate and being negative, and but
It's framed in that
yeah,
sense.
it's framed in that way. Um, but unless you are going out and actually saying those mean things, I can't see why anyone should be censored. It's just an opinion. Like, it's up to everyone else that's reading it if they want to believe it or not. Like, we can say what we want, but we can't control who's believing it. So why do you care what we're saying? It's up to you to, I guess,
Exactly. It's up
think
to
about
the
what we're
individual to
saying.
decide
Yeah. Like,
what they want to
you
believe.
don't have to listen to, you can listen to us talking on this podcast, but you don't have to believe anything we say. Don't. That doesn't matter to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's up to the people listening, it's up to the people watching to determine what they want to believe and what they don't want to believe. But that's not up to Twitter to decide what they want people to believe, or Instagram. It's up to the individual. So,
Here's an interesting quote on
yeah.
censorship. It says, it's by Potter Stewart. Censorship
Okay.
reflects a society's lack of confidence in itself. And then that's exactly what what I was saying about them being insecure. By them, I mean the government and big pharma business and social media and these platforms that are censoring, is that they are insecure that there could be opinions that are better than theirs or that are more correct, that are more factual.
Well, yeah, just like pharma wanted to hide their data,
Yeah.
Pfizer, whoever it was, because they're insecure that we're gonna
They just
actually see
have,
it and then decide, maybe I don't want to take this.
yeah, in essence, they have no confidence in the information they provide. Therefore, they have to crush the competition by force rather than by competing with them in a natural environment.
What people don't understand is, if the vaccines and everything that the government has been saying, if all of that is correct, and if really we are the wrong ones, right? That will eventually show itself.
Yep.
As long as the truth is presented. So it doesn't matter who's putting what information out there. Eventually, whatever is the correct solution, or I guess the correct opinion, for lack of a better word, that will eventually come to light. As long as we're all being truthful about what we're putting out there, we will, like, the truth will come out no matter whose side it's on. So you just have to let everyone express themselves, and then eventually, whichever one is actually correct will get the most attention. Right?
Well, another thing is that truth will only come out if people speak about it and they talk about the truth and they actually come out to tell their stories and discuss these things.
Well, look at Joe Rogan, for example. He has an abundance of viewers, and people who listen to his podcast. I think it's way more than any mainstream media network or channel. Why is that? And why did he blow up all of a sudden? Because people are drawn to what they think is the most authentic and what's the most truthful.
Mm-hmm.
After a while, they got sick of watching the media because they didn't have any more trust in it. So eventually, people are going to start to be drawn to what they think is the truth and what they think is correct. So as long as everything is out there, CNN is still like CNN is on TV and CBC and all these mainstream media platforms are still there and available for people to watch it, right? Joe Rogan is there and available for people to watch. But now, with time, we start to see which ones people find more truthful than others. And then those are the ones that get the most attention. But all of those opinions and ideas are still out there. And it's up to the people now to decide.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what it is at this point. And that's the unfortunate reality we live in now. But something I wanted to bring up is that there are a lot of people who do believe in the same things as we talk about. Like, they believe in freedom of speech. They don't believe in censorship. They don't like censorship, but they're afraid to come out and talk about it because it is being censored and it is being stigmatized to talk about these topics. Like, nobody's going to discuss vaccine safety with you. Like, even in person, people are very hesitant to talk about their opinions on that. And it's like, that kind of sucks because I want to know people's opinions. I don't want to hear just one side from the government telling me it's safe and effective. That's it.
Yeah.
Right?
Why?
The end. No, it's not black and white. It's not 2 + 2 = 4 and that's the end of story. That's not how that's never how medicine or pharmaceutical business ever worked, because there are things that always come up. And I want to hear people's stories. I want to hear, their reactions or their experiences. But they're so afraid to come out to talk about these things because of censorship, right? Because it's stigmatized. And then they are afraid that it's going to affect their lives. And it will. It will. Unfortunate reality is that, there will be employers who will look at it. There will be their friends who will look at it. There will be just their peers, family. They're going to take a look at it and they might not agree. And that's why they're so afraid, right? And it sucks because we need to hear those stories. And those stories are something that needs to be distributed to others so that we can have the freedom to choose rather than, being told one thing and to believe one thing. That is how we end up nowhere in society. It's a slippery slope, in other words.
Yeah, no, I think you said that perfectly. I mean, I'm really like, if they start to shut down one side of the story, what is that going to look like, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, if we're only seeing one thing? And we're not getting the truth.
Where does that lead? And again, this bill C-36 is coming in, so they're asking for more censorship. And of course, it's not going to stop until we push back, until we talk about it, until we say, hey, this is wrong. You should stop this. And people, recognize that censorship is actually a terrible thing.
But some don't. And for the people who don't realize that censorship is a terrible thing, I mean, they're just the ones that are they're scared of they're scared of the possibility that they may be wrong in their convictions. And you know what, if you don't want to hear something, just don't go out and listen to it. It can still be on the internet. Just choose not, like, if you don't like what we're saying, don't listen to us. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. If you don't like the things that are being posted, just don't look at them. Doesn't mean they have to be censored and shut down just because you don't like something. Yeah. Right? That's not how life works.
Like, if you don't believe in the flat Earth society, then don't fucking look at it. Who cares? Honestly, let them do their thing, right? Yeah. It's like, I'm not gonna ban them. I'm not gonna censor them just because I think they're wrong. It's like, that's fine. They can do whatever the fuck they want to do.
If I don't like an artist, a singer, I'm like, oh my god, this singer is so annoying. Like,
just censor them. Just
no, censor them. They're done. They're done. We don't need to listen to them. No one can listen to them now because I don't like them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No.
Like what?
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that's just pointing out the hypocrisy that's happening.
Yeah.
So, I was recently at my local Food Basics. I go grocery shopping weekly, and what I noticed was the produce section was pretty much empty. There was like one tomato, and it was rotten, and that's all.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, all the projections about food shortages that are coming. This is the reality now. I live in Mississauga, in the GTA of the Greater Toronto area, and yeah, this is a Food Basics in Mississauga where I was at, where we haven't had fresh produce, in a week. Like I've gone back twice, last week, and no produce yet.
And do you think this is because of the trucker mandates and having less truckers on the road?
Yeah, exactly. So, I was looking into this more regarding like what the politicians are saying, and this is a post by Post Millennial. It says, "Difficult time ahead with food shortages," says Trudeau. No shit. All right, so here's what our Prime Minister is saying. The Prime Minister blamed global supply chain issues and the war in Ukraine on what he said would be a difficult time for the country. We've seen disruptions of supply chains around the world, which is resulting in higher prices for consumer democracies like ours, and resulting in significant shortages and projected shortages of food, of energy in places around the world. So,
Is this this is also
so this I just quoted him,
Yeah.
basically, and he continues on to say, "This is going to be a difficult time because of the war, because of the recovery from the pandemic." Um, as far as I know, Canada's not at war with anybody, eh?
Not that I know of. I you know,
I
not
mean,
that I know of.
how many products do we bring in from Russia? I don't remember
I
bringing
don't know,
in
but
produce from Russia.
I don't know, but I do know they're blaming the inflation and the gas prices on Russia as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's
But
another thing that we're going to
produce-
get into. But it's like the food shortages, most of our food comes from the States. Like, especially,
last I checked, I don't think the states are at war with anyone either.
yeah, I don't think so. Maybe
could be
we
totally
missed,
wrong,
maybe we missed the memo.
Maybe.
But I mean, how ridiculous is it for the leader of our country to blame a war that's going on in a different part of the world, that is causing all these shortages, when we look back a month ago, or maybe a little bit more, we had just a shit ton of truckers fired due to the mandates.
You know what this reminds me of? Our government blaming overwhelming hospitals on unvaccinated people instead of blaming it on the fact that they're firing a lot of their staff and their nurses.
Yeah. It's like, oh, we're overwhelmed. Why? Oh, because it's too many patients. But they didn't mention the fact that they just fired a shit ton of nurses. Yeah, well, it goes the same thing.
idea.
Same idea. They're going to blame, like, this is the thing. Our politicians do not take responsibility for their actions.
No.
It's like they have caused this. They have caused the shortage, the supply chains to completely crumble around the world, because it was a global response to the pandemic to mandate shit, to fire people out of their jobs, to destroy businesses, and now you have a problem, and they're saying, oh, it's because of the war, oh, it's because of this, it's because of that.
Look,
That means they are perfect, right?
Yeah.
That means Trudeau, I've done nothing wrong, I'm just an angel, and I did everything correctly, but the circumstances are so terrible, and the world is so unjust, and I'm just trying to do my best, and this is why we're going through such trouble. No, you fucking caused this. Like, the government and the institutions who have implemented these mandates, they are the ones responsible for the food shortages that now I cannot buy produce. I have to go somewhere out of town, or I have to drive further in order to pick and find some tomatoes, for God's sakes. Like, this is ridiculous. And the problem with this is that most people are going to believe it. They're going to say Russia's to blame.
Look, and even if I'm just saying even if it is the fault of the war and of Russia and all that for our food shortages, why would they continue to fire people that could help with that problem that's caused due to circumstances? They're still contradicting themselves, no matter what they're like whether they're blaming the war or themselves. Like, there's the things that they are doing are still not helping anyways.
Yeah.
You know, even if this wasn't the government's fault, they're still not doing anything to help it. They're just, oh yeah, we're just gonna fire them anyways. But I mean, like, it just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense.
It just sucks because these people, like Trudeau and a lot of the other politicians that are in power in Canada or the United States or any other country for that matter, is that they're not leaders. They're not real leaders, because real leaders take responsibility, full responsibility for their own lives and for whatever they're responsible for. So if you're a prime minister, you have certain responsibilities to take care of. And if you have failed, just like, I mean, Joe Biden has failed with his, pulling out of Afghanistan. Like, that whole mission was complete chaos. Like, they had people like jumping off of the airplanes. It was ridiculous. But that just goes to show, and there was never a mention of like, yeah, sorry guys, this was a miscalculated mission. This and this happened. We tried our best with this, but it didn't work out. Our team was wrong, and we're going to fix this like this. That's how a real leader would approach it, because a real leader would say, yeah, I fucked up and I'm going to fix it like this, right? Because they have to take responsibility for the shit that they have caused. But if you're not taking responsibility, you're not a leader.
Well, look, even for the whole mandate situation, even if the government came out and said, hey guys, by the way, we kind of, this didn't really work, and sorry that we fired all of you, and sorry that we took away all your education. Sorry guys, our bad. We're going to do it like this next time. No, they're just like, oh, circumstances have changed and now we're dropping the mandates. But why are you dropping admit that what you did was maybe wrong and this is how you're going to change it. So yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. There's just no responsibility whatsoever. It's let's blame everyone else.
Yeah, it's always blaming somebody else, blaming circumstances. Well, guess what? Like, even as an individual, if you give your responsibilities and your actions, and you're going to say that all the bad things that have happened to you is because of certain circumstances out of your control, what does that entail? That entails that you're perfect and you have nothing to fix. You have nowhere to grow because you're perfect. The only thing that went wrong is all bad luck. Sorry. Pandemic. War. Sorry, not my fault. Right?
Nothing we can do about
then
it.
They have nothing to fix. That means Trudeau has nothing to improve. That means Joe Biden has nothing to improve because he's perfect.
Oh, they're so perfect.
Right? And that's what they're talking about. And what's the worst part about this is that people embrace that culture. Is you go around and you speak to your friends, you speak to this. It's like they don't take care of their responsibilities. A lot of people, maybe they don't pay rent or something, right? And it's like, they can just blame the pandemic, or they can just blame this, and they can just blame that.
Well, I think we've talked about this before. It's like that victim mentality. Right? Yeah, and it all comes full circle.
And we've got comments that are like, oh, I can't understand how this stupid guy is making connections about victimhood and not being responsible. It's like, so here's something to understand is that, again, the reason I made that connection is because when you are victimizing yourself, you are blaming something else out of your control about the circumstances in your life. So it's like, the reason my bank account is, the reason I'm broke is because of racism, or the reason I cannot pay rent is because of pandemic. That means you as an individual have nothing to fix, and you as an individual are not taking responsibility for your own life. It's like, yeah, there are circumstances that will contribute to your situation, But at the end of the day, you are the only one responsible for it. You are the one to fix. So what are you going to do about it? Are you just going to cry, or are you going to adapt? Are you going to maybe find another job, maybe go into a different business, maybe go get a different education? Or are you just going to sit there and cry and hoping that the government fixes your problems? Because if that's the reality, well, then I'm sorry, but you're just going to be controlled by the government, and you won't have any individual responsibility to take care of your own life.
Well, that's how they've been slowly implementing that level of control is by, um, I guess, promoting this mentality. I mean, look at the lockdowns that we had for the first year or two of COVID, and they were just handing out money like it was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody could have gotten just a free $2,000 a month if they really wanted to from the government, and it was just like, okay, that's sick. Like, why do I need to work if they're just going to give me money? You know what I mean? And then it perpetuates that same mentality. And then now, but now the thing is, though, the government has more control over you as an individual because you are more reliant on them. And it's the same thing. And that mentality is dangerous, and we
Mm-hmm.
can't, because then
Something
we hand over too much control
that's right.
of our own lives.
Something for people to understand is that nothing is free in
You
life.
have to,
Nothing is free.
and
If you're
life
given
isn't
money,
fair.
it's not for free, especially from the government.
No,
There are incentives,
we just aren't always aware of
incentives
them.
to do different things. You're just not aware of it. You have not educated yourself because, you're maybe completely ignorant of the circumstances that are happening in our lives. But that's the reality, is that nothing is for free. Nobody's going to give you money for free. The government did. It seems that way. But in reality, what the government is doing is promoting the indoctrination of you being less responsible for your own life, you being weak. Because if you cannot make money, buy and sell goods, and you're going to cry about it, you're a weak individual. It's the easiest thing to control weak individuals. And we have so many of those because so many people have lost hope. So many people have lost complete confidence. Like, just talking about the impact of mandates, the lockdowns, all the restrictions that we've had over the past 2 years. Like, look what it's done to society, just from my own personal experience, like with my own friends and families, that it's crushed people, absolutely crushed people, because they have no confidence in approaching others. They're afraid of each other. Like, nobody shakes hands anymore. Nobody, gives out hugs just to people they meet. It's like, well, I shouldn't say nobody, for the majority, but a lot of people are alienated to gain new relationships. It ruins communities. It ruins social skills. And then what do you get? You get depression, you get mental health problems. Everything is on the rise, and everything is heading towards that direction, especially in our young population of students.
Yeah, and the thing is, when most people start to lose hope, start to get mental health issues like depression and anxiety and things like that, when they start to feel alone and isolated, all of those things combined, it makes it so much easier for the government or the institutions to tell us or to control us,
Mm-hmm.
and to, yeah, to have more control over our lives because we are more submissive to that, because it's like, oh, well, you're so, you have no hope left, or you're just you're sad, or I don't know what it is, but you're just probably more inclined to then just listen to what other people have to tell you. And because it takes too much energy to have to think for yourself, it takes too much energy to question the things
Mm-hmm.
around you. It's just way easier to be like, okay, they're telling me to do this, so I'm gonna do it then. And that's what happens when you have, um, you know, most of our society just completely crushed by everything that's been going on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same thing with these mandates that are being put in place. You're slowly just taking, everyone's just slowly losing hope. And the more that they lose hope, the more they are, again, submissive and just gonna, okay, fine, like they're gonna slowly start to give in. And that's kind of been their strategy, is to
Yeah.
tear us down until we are so desperate that we will take anything and accept anything to just be lifted back up again.
Yep. I mean, just speaking from the perspective of like our freedom movement, quote unquote,
Mm-hmm.
is that a lot of people gave up. That's the unfortunate reality, is that people stop fighting as soon as, like, again, the mandates paused or temporarily ended,
Mm-hmm.
and people feel like as though they're somewhat free again and they're able to do the things they want to do. But it's like a lot of them have given up the fight. They're not going to be fighting because they can go to the regular job, they can go to their most of the businesses and still do the things they want to do. But the thing is, a lot of people have lost hope because they feel like nothing is making a change.
Mm-hmm.
And why is that? Well, because a lot of people are weak, right? Like, only the strong people are going to be on the grind for a long time in order to achieve something in life. Like, for example, you want to start a business. Yeah, likely your business is not going to succeed in the first couple of years. The majority of successful people become successful at least, in a decade or more, right? It's all about grinding on and on for a long period of time, like I mentioned about the elephant uh, that I used. And it's like a lot of people don't have that grit to keep going because they're so beaten up, and they're so submissive, they're so weak, because the government has implemented the mandates, they implemented the lockdowns, they implemented this controlled fear into people, and now people feel as though they're powerless. And when you feel powerless, you feel hopeless, you're looking for a way out, not a way through,
Mm-hmm.
right? And only the strong individuals are going to be able to keep going and keep fighting this, despite all of the shit that's happening. But what we've seen in our freedom movement is that the majority of people have dropped out. The majority of people have stopped
But the
communicating.
thing is here, like, a lot of people assume that that's happening because, oh, it's all over now. But the reality is that a lot of people are still being affected, and this is the pausing of these mandates is
But
seems.
I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know. I think a lot of people still know it's not over. And a lot
Oh, a
of
lot of
people
people.
still predict that the mandates will come back. Like, the chat is the chats that
That's
we
still
have are still the same, right? Like, people still believe, oh yeah, they're probably going to bring it back. They're probably going to bring it back. They know it, right?
yes, but
But
it's the
how many
other
people have
people.
disappeared?
Yes, that's true. That's true.
And it's like, where did they disappear to? Well, most likely they probably doing their own little thing, trying to get by and trying to live their life as best they could for the time being. It's summertime. They can go on and, I don't know, do their programs that are now available that will probably not be available in September. They're trying to get an opportunity to do that now. And that's fair. But um, the unfortunate reality is that this whole like push pull from the government and with the mandates is it's really dragging on, and it's really killing a lot of the
So that
movement.
when they give you like a little bit, just a little bit of freedom back, you're like, just
I want to jump on that
yeah, I'll just take
opportunity.
it
Yeah.
and I'll just accept it. I kind of want to just tie this into we posted on social media recently. It's a basically just a post describing what it really means for the universities to be pausing the mandates. And the response that we've been getting from students is quite interesting. Because we've kind of gone on to explain that pausing doesn't mean it's over, and we still have a lot of fight left in this. Um, and just some of these comments, like one student, I'm nervous about taking summer courses. What if the mandates are put into place and I'm forced to update um, vaccine proof before finishing my courses I started? This already happened to me in fall 2021. So then there's other students talking about they're unsure about securing housing for school next year. If they wait until August to decide, how am I supposed to know if I need housing, which needs to be secured now? So because of this, like, there's no clear answer. There's no definitive answer. None of us know what our next steps are in our education. Like, do we try to go back to school? Do we wait? We don't know. Do we get housing? Do we not get housing? Um, it's I don't know, and it's just that uncertainty is really draining to most people,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
And
draining them.
here's the reality, though. Things are not going to improve. The uncertainty will continue. The world is not going to get certain by you, not doing much or complaining about it. It's like, yeah, I know the world is shit. We've been hearing about these stories ever since the pandemic started. And it's like, the question is, what do you do? What do you commit to? What do you want from your life? Right? And that's the question that people should ask themselves on a daily basis. And they should determine, what do you want to do and why do you want to do it? What are your convictions, and are you willing to take the responsibility for those convictions? And that's what it's going to take for the majority of people to convince themselves that, yeah, life is bad, but am I going to focus on the fact that it's just terrible and is everything is shit and everything is negative, or are you going to focus on the fact that, what do I do about it? What can I grow? How can I grow?
Yeah.
How can I improve? How can this situation be positive? What's good about this? Right? Ask some empowering questions of yourselves. And I mean, it's really sad because we've encouraged those people that you mentioned to reach out and to speak to us and get involved and come meet us. Right? We want to meet you. We want to get together and form a community.
Yeah, because for me, this, like you said, this has been a period of growth for me. And the greatest thing that helped my personal mental health was changing my mindset from, oh, life sucks, this is so hard, to, okay, how am I going to spin this around and make it positive? What am I going to do about it? How am I going to take advantage of the situation? And like how am I going to make this positive? How am I going to grow from this? And as soon as you start thinking that way, it just completely changes. It really, really helps you. And this is what we've been trying to encourage all of these members to do, is stop. Yes, I know, like, you're worried about what your school is going to do come September, but stop, like, complaining and whining about it. I guess just try to be a little bit more positive, because there are things that we can do to try and change the situation. And just change your mindset, and then everything around you will change as well. You'll stop being so sad or depressed or anxious or worried or uncertain.
There's a great quote from Dr. Wayne Dyer.
Mm-hmm.
He mentions, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
There's anything that I've learned in the last 6 months is that.
Every situation that you're in could be a positive one if you allow yourself to look at it in that light. And so, because when you start looking at things from a positive perspective and from a more, how could I grow? How could I get better? How can I improve my situation today? What can I do? What kind of action I can take to improve my situation for tomorrow? Right? And I don't see a way of improving your situation by simply, getting by or living the life of like mediocrity, because that's all you're allowed to do right now. If you are against the mandates and you're non-compliant, that's all you're allowed to do is live the life of mediocrity, meaning that, you cannot travel, you cannot work at a prestigious company, you cannot get like a medical degree. You cannot go into law school and finish that successfully because the mandates are likely to come back. And you're not really allowed to pursue those passions at the moment. But it's like, what can I do about it? Right? Do I just give up and live the life of mediocrity like I am made to do? Or are you going to try your best to improve the situation? Well, the best way to improve the situation, number one, is to speak about it. Come out on the podcast like ours. come out and, I don't know, start your own YouTube channel, start talking about this stuff. Because, or even just go to your local communities and tell them what happened, right? Tell about your situation. Don't tell me on Instagram that your life is shit. I know it's shit. My life is shit too. And then we all got our own problems. But it's like, the question is, what are you going to do about it? I don't know, maybe reach out to us and speak to us. Come out to an event and speak to us. I mean, we're not having events now that most of the schools are going into summer classes and there's not many people around, but you can still get involved. You can still send a message to us. One of our representatives will get in touch and we could still meet each other. We could still get together and discuss what's going on and discuss the best course of action. And you're going to feel a little bit better about yourself because at least you are, you're trying to improve your situation one step at a time. And that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps people going. I wake up in the morning, I'm excited because I know that I'm going to do something that brings me closer to ending this shit. And if you are willing to do that, if you're willing to put in the work and take full responsibility for your own life, because life is not going to get any better. Life is hard. It's difficult. That's the reality. So if you want to improve
that's with
that,
or without mandates.
that's with or without mandates. It's just reality. Yeah. So you got to take on the responsibility of life for yourself. And if you don't, then life is going to be even harder. So, well, if you resonate with our message and you would like to be empowered, you would like to feel a little bit better about yourself and improve your own situation, then you're welcome to reach out at csont.ca.
We'd love to meet you.
We would love to meet you. We would love to discuss all the things that are going on and how we can improve each one of our situations. But other than that, we'll chat with you soon. Thank you.